Yo, welcome back guys, yet another tutorial and another blue and gold color grade. So I get so many requests for this one, that's why I do quite a few on it. So we've got another image sent in, trying to get those really nice teal blues, those cool blues in the shadows, and then those nice golden highlights and flatness to the entire image. So let's get over to his Instagram, I'll show you guys his work. So as you can see, he achieves this edit really well, like with those teal blues there, those bluey gold greens, and yeah, there's a lot of flatness to the image, so there's not much contrast. And yeah, I'll be putting his links down in the description. Let him know you found him through this tutorial, and if we come down we'll see the image we're going to be working with. This one here, I actually changed a few things about the edit just to get it a bit closer to the style, but as you can see it's really good. Yeah, nice golden photo there with those steel blues, so they're really nice. If we come back up, this one right here is really well done as well. And yeah, if I just go through the settings for this shot here, I know a lot of people are interested in those. So ISO 100, 150 millimeters, f-stop 3.2, and a shutter speed of 500. So self-explanatory there's plenty of light. And yeah, let's get into Lightroom. One image will be available for you guys to download. It'll be an image further on in the tutorial, but if you go download that, you can follow along in this tutorial, try out the presets and stuff like that. And yeah, let's get into this tutorial guys, see if we can come up with something like this. So here's the raw unedited one and the edit we're trying to achieve. Now I've actually made some changes to his edit. So this is actually the one he's edited, and I just changed a few things to make it a bit better in my opinion. So I just mainly did things like drop the vibrance, and then like up the shadows, and then maybe add in a bit more red tones by like adding in purples. And then yeah, so I did something along the lines of that, and this is the edit here we're going to be trying to achieve. So if we just go back, so yeah, he's helped me out with all of these settings. But if I just show you guys some of the presets on this image, so we've got gold and blue one. If we try that, and as you can see, it's really harsh, and that's because we have a lot of contrast in this shot. So because we've got that harsh light coming in and then pretty dark background back there, like right on sunset, right in the sun, lots of contrast. So I do things like drop the contrast, up the blacks, down the exposure, and yeah, maybe take out those yellows by like adding in some purple. But yeah, I just do things like this, blacks up a bit more maybe. Saturation. But yeah, yeah, so a few of these presets work really well, but I'll just run you through the settings start to finish on this one. So we'll just crack into that right now. All these presets are available to you guys, all the good ones anyway, available for you guys to purchase if you want to do that. Right, so if we just go back to where we were right from the start. Okay, so let's crack into this edit. Let's up the warmth to about there. We want to drop the contrast. As I said, this image has a lot of contrast in it, meaning harsh whites and harsh blacks. And that's because we're in direct sunlight. Okay. Highlights can come down, so we want to create a real flatness to this style. So dropping the highlights really does that. You can see how it really drops the pop of the image. And then up the shadows, as you can see, we made it that we can see a lot of the background back there. So if we drop the shadows, you can see, actually it doesn't look too bad there, but we're going to be doing some work in the curves as well, which will darken the background there as well. So I'll up the shadows. Blacks can come down because I'm also going to do a fade here, so like lift something up like that. So So you need to keep the blacks down a little to keep some contrast. And then I might drop the whites for that extra bit of flatness to the image. Because we don't want, for this style, we don't want a pop to it. So drop the whites. And yeah, down here, we're gonna drop the clarity because we want a real smooth looking image. So we'll drop that down and we are about good. Now, vibrance is quite an important one here. We want to take out the pop of the colors now. So if you just drop the vibrance, so that sort of, it mainly desaturates the brighter tones and the mid tones. And then if we up the saturation to about there, and then we'll do the rest in the HSL down here. But you can see how it just takes away, yeah, the vibrance. It does pretty much what it says it does. Sort of takes away the brighter areas. And you're sort of left with maybe only the deeper colors. So yeah, we'll move on with that. Maybe a touch of exposure. Right, let's move on. Maybe just, so tint is a really important one in this. Like, maybe it's probably easier if I show you later on in the edit, because we don't need to shift it right now, but like going towards purple will give you nice orange tones, going towards green will give you nice blue tones, but later on in the edit anyway. So we just quickly come down to split toning before anything else. I'm going to add lots of warmth into the highlights. So I'm going to pick a nice yellow. And then generally you want to either add the same colors in the split toning, so in the shadows and highlights, or the opposite colors. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a blue because I want that blue back there in the shadows. That nice steel blue or teal blue. I'm just going to do a little bit. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to shift the tint because, as you can see, our image looks really, really warm. I want these warm colors, but I also want these blues. So what I could do is increase the amount of blues, but like it's kind of making the bright area really blue or green because you're adding a teal to like an orange. It's coming off quite green at the moment. If I shifted that way, it would look a little more natural. But I want to keep these teals in the shadows back here. So what I'm going to do is shift this way. So that's going to bring more into the image. And now we sort of get more tones there. So what I could actually do is I'll leave it there for now. I'll move on to curves. I'll do some work in the curves here. Now, what I have to tell you is that he has helped me a bit with these settings. I've got my own way to create the style, but he's sort of gone a different way about it, and he's just done some work in the curves. So I'll do the curves now and then try to explain it once I'm done. Okay, that's the curves done, and at the moment it's not too obvious how helpful they are. We kind of look too blue and too green. This curve here controls the fade, so if I just get rid of that, you can see we just add in a slight bit of fade, especially to the whites here and down towards the blacks. So you just get that slight fade, and then there's a little dip in the mid-tones as well. So just get that little bit of flatness to the entire image. Now, they don't look too helpful right now. They almost make the image look worse. That's probably because I should have done the curves after we'd done the colors down here. But, so we'll just do this now, and then I might go back and try to explain the curves again. So if we just shift, say, here, you can see we've got lots of greens and blues in the shadows, especially like a green color. So adding in purple will actually be the opposite to a green in the shadows. Therefore, you'll remove those greens. So that looks a little better. Let's shift this all the way across, desaturate it. Greens all the way across. And then a little bit of orange and teal. And we'll desaturate that too. Okay, so he's helped me with these settings again, so bear in mind, yeah, that's what he's going to achieve this edit. I think especially moving this one really helps get those nice soft bluey greens. And yeah, I think this introduces a lot of those oranges that you need in the skin tones and stuff, because you do have quite a yellow looking image. So I think we're good there now. Sharpening, so we'll quickly do sharpening while we're here. Since we drop the clarity, when you drop the clarity, you probably want to bring up the sharpness, and you'll still get a pretty smooth looking image. So just do that. Grain, we want lots of grain in this one, and then we'll drop the roughness down quite a bit. And again, this edit, you want a flatness to your edit, or yeah, that's probably the way to describe it, a flatness. So maybe like we've got a fade in the curves, and the grain kind of helps give you this layer and flatness to the image because you've got the same texture over all of it. So I think that helps in this edit. We will do a slight vignette. Not very noticeable at all. And we'll just bring the midpoint up a bit. Okay, if we come back up, we might shift. Go about there. Right, let's fine tune some of the colors here in the HSL. So this should, after doing this, we should have all the colors we need. So we are looking a little bit yellow, and you can see that in the skin tones, you can see that back here. So if we grab the oranges and shift them towards the reds, you get much nicer skin tones. The reds look, so if you have to look at the lips or the darker skin tone areas, you can see we look a little orange. We just want to keep them a little bit on the red side, just so they don't blend in with the rest of the skin tone, the oranges. And then the yellows is what's going to really give us, what we want to do is keep them yellow. So if I just do the greens first, so we don't have any greens in this. It's only a tiny bit, but we want them nice and blue. So I'll just shift them this way. Okay, so we'll just go to saturation. And if we drop the yellows, actually I think I know what the problem is. We've just got way too much color in the background there. We've got a real bluey green back there. So what I'll do, I'll just really drop the split toning. Yeah, as you can see, that really brings back the colors. We probably should have done that earlier. So if I just come back up and re-explain what I did up here. So the reds, we want to keep them a little bit red, because if they go all the way to the orange, the lips kind of become the same color as the skin tones. And to an extent, you can sort of have that, but pushing them to the red might give a bit more of a natural skin tone. Oranges, as you can see, we don't want that yellow look. As you can see, if I warm up the yellows, the background just gets a little too orange or something like that. We want these nice bluey greens, so the yellows can come across. Yeah, I probably should have fixed that in the split toning before doing these, but it's all good. Let's just chuck it there again. And then the greens, hardly any greens in this. They've all been registered as blues, I think. Right, if we come down to saturation, let's just play around. Let's drop the skin tone a little. So yeah, lots of oranges in this image. Let's drop it a little. Come down to luminance. So I think we want a little bit of a pop. So I think lifting the luminance of the yellows will give this image a little bit of a pop. You can see the background of the trees and this bit of the skin tone there pop if I bring that up. And I think for this style that works because you get a little bit more contrast in terms of color. Like it gives certain areas brightness, which can really help, because otherwise your image could look a little bland or something, I think, especially when you don't have any contrast. Luminance of the reds, they might be alright where they are. Luminance of the greens. So quite often this style you want really deep greens. You can't really see it in this image, it's not registered very well, but I'll keep them there because I quite often really like those really deep greens. And yeah, I think we pretty much nailed it. If we just go to a brush, and I've already placed the brush for this tutorial, that's where it's affecting. What I want to do is just brighten our subject a little bit in the face. Okay, sharpen maybe, a bit of clarity and sharpness. And as you can see, so the skin tone looks a little yellow. So what I'll do is just shift purple. You can see how that just adds a little more red into it. We look a little green, shift some red in there, purple in there, and it will shift it. It will pull those greens out of the area, and you should get left with a slightly more red and natural looking skin tone. I'll just do that for the face there. And yeah, I think we're about done with that, guys. Here's our before. So heaps of contrast in this shot, direct sunlight, and then like we lifted the shadows so you could see back in the background there, and then we added this, like we took all the contrast out, and now it just like sort of looks like there's this layer over the image or something like that. It's quite hard to explain what a fade is, but yeah, you can see by adding that fade, you can see how bright our highlights are here, and then when we really dim that down, you can see like it's just not as harsh. And then we've got those nice blues, those bluey, well, what do you call them? Warm blues that are like a steel blue or something like that. Warm highlights and nice orange, yellowy skin tones that look real rich. So I'll just show you guys, like if we made this into a preset. So if we just came up here, hit preset, create preset, and say if we just called it the gold, blue, low contrast. And in terms of saving things, I like to keep white balance ticked sometimes, just because it depends a lot. Like some styles really depend on having white balance tick, so it's a personal preference. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave it ticked. Everything else is good. You don't want filters on. Create. Okay, so I just want to try this preset on some other images and tweak them to show you guys how to use them. So if we come across, I'll just try to find an image to use it on. Okay, so I'll apply it to this image. If I just click here and I hit gold, blue, low contrast. So as you can see, after applying it, we have too much like warmth in the image. Like we're really flat. So first of all, let's increase the contrast here. And so things I'm looking at is like the the highlights here, we look really yellow back there. We want them closer to white. So what I'll do is drop the highlights back there, and yeah, we already look really good. We've got those nice blues and down there in the water, and like those warm, see how that light is hitting. Got those nice oranges there and those bluish looking greens. So that's the before and after. So really quick, we made it look pretty good straight away. Maybe up the contrast some more, then up the blacks, depending on how flat you like it. Maybe play around with saturation. But otherwise, yeah, that one works really quick. And check in the description, I might make this image available to download. So yeah, so you guys can just come and try with this image here. So yeah, I think that looks great on that one. I actually kind of like that edit the best there. Right, let's try it on some other images. Okay, we have this one here. Let's apply the preset, low contrast. As you can see, we've got sort of the same problem as last time. We look really flat because remember this image had heaps of contrast in it. So, and these images over here sort of don't have as much contrast as what we had over in this one. So we're gonna have to like correct a lot of that. So if we just like bring down the warmth and the highlights, as you can see, that just sort of we're looking pretty yellow before. Let's bring that down. That introduces a lot more blues. It's kind of hard to see the blues at the moment, but that's because we got such a little amount of contrast. See, now we can sort of see those blues there. We look a little too cold throughout the entire image, so there's maybe like too many blues. But if I up the warmth, sort of introduce more warmth into the entire image, and now we look a little too green maybe, so or too warm. It's pretty close, green or warm. But if I shift the purples across, you can see how that gets us like more oranges because you're pulling out those greens. Maybe if we pull that back down, blacks. Yeah, something like that. I think that looks alright. These are before and after. Alright, let's try it on another image. I might make this one available to download as well. I'll try to Dropbox them all for you guys so you can follow along. If we come across this one might work alright. Let's go gold, blue, low contrast. Just up the contrast a bit. Drop the exposure, and I think this one works pretty well because this image also has a lot of contrast to it. Yeah, maybe some warmth, but you can see those nice blues down there, before and after. Maybe looks a touch green. We want some more oranges in those yellows, so maybe purple can do that for us. And as you can see, we get a slight more orange to those yellows, and pretty much the whole image by just shifting the tint across. So I think that works well. Let's try this image. Gold, blue, low contrast. As you can see, same problem as before. We need more contrast. It's down the exposure. Get those nice blues down there. Yeah, I think we look good. I'll just speed through these now. Yeah, I think we look okay. Maybe some more oranges there. Another image. Let's try this one. Low contrast. Same problem as before. We need more contrast. And then we look too yellow in the highlights. Let's balance that out. Drop the amount in the highlights. So this is quite a cold image. It's sort of midday. There's no real light or sunset that has warmth in it, so we look quite blue. We could play around with this about there. Maybe a bit more vibrance. A bit more warmth maybe. Maybe less contrast. I think it looks okay. Maybe drop the whites. We just want a bit more of a flatter look. We'll move on to the next one. So I think this one, since this is, we'll just reset that one. If we apply it, gold blue low contrast, you can see you get, this is a good example of those really nice steel blues. So up the contrast a little, and the fade. So this is a really good example of fade as well. So before and after, those nice blues is, it kind of looks like too many blues. So if we up the warmth, I think something like that looks quite nice. But yeah, that's those nice teal blue, steel blues that quite a few people want to achieve. And yeah, if we just keep coming across, let's try it on this image. Gold blue low contrast. This one works really well as well. So maybe same as before, up the contrast a bit. Maybe too much warmth in those highlights. Drop that. You sort of want the whites to be slightly yellow, just slightly, because that far they go blue about there. Looks okay. Yeah, and then if we just maybe add some more contrast, you can see you get those nice blues in the shadows there, and then like a little bit of blue throughout the entire image as well. And then like purples would make that look a little more orange. I quite like that. So that's quite an important thing to play with, is the purple tint here. Okay, up the blacks, whites. Yeah, so I'll just leave it there. Let's go back to our original. I think it was that one. Maybe if we just really try it, reset this one. Let's just try it on here, gold blue low contrast. Okay, so as you can see, we look a little too warm. We could try, that doesn't look too bad. Contrast there. And then yeah, you want to play around with the split toning definitely. So maybe try dropping it in the highlights. There's not many highlights in this one, so that's why we didn't have to bring it down so much. But yeah, I think it looks okay with quite a bit. And again, those nice blues there in the shadows, they're almost like a green as well. And yeah, I'll just leave it there, guys. Hope you like this. I'll try putting a lot of these images down for you guys to download real quickly. Try it on this one. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, okay guys, I'll leave it there, and yeah, I'll try to make a lot of these images downloadable for you guys. So back to our original. So here's our original game, before and after. Thanks for watching. So go give them a follow down in the description, and I also want to tell you guys about the presets and all the awesome feedback that's happening over on my website, maartenschrader.com. So if you go over there, you'll be able to see all the feedback from the presets. How they're really helping you guys transform your feeds and really let you get close to these really popular styles, and then tweak them yourself and stuff like that. So heaps of value over there, guys. Go check it out. I've got a Patreon if you want to say thank you. It just goes towards this channel. This channel is my complete passion, my complete everything. So everything's going into growing this channel here. So yeah, and that's about it, guys. Remember, there's a raw file down in the description if you want to follow along in a little bit of this tutorial. I'm not sure which image it will be yet. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Comment who you guys want to see so I can go find people that have really great styles but not too many followers. That way they'll send in an image to me and I can do a tutorial on them. So comment them down in the description. Really helps me. I go through all of those. And yeah, if you guys are interested in video LUTs, you guys probably really like my photo editing, but I also do video editing and create LUTs for some really awesome styles too, and I know you guys will really like them. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.